Good morning, everyone. 12 of the 2022 in December. It's Monday morning. Sorry about the tracker on the weekend. Something's going wrong with the internet at home, but there you go. And we'll try and get the question and answers up. Monday's always a busy day, but it'll be sometime late this afternoon. Yeah, that'll be the next one. So first off this morning, the leaderboard, just to see what they're doing in the last 24 hours. Simon's got 145 nautical miles. Kirsten's got 140, so she lost out a little bit. And Abelis 55. Michael Goog 138. He's moving along. Jeremy 100 miles. Ian Herbert Jones 122. Elliot's bogged down 53. Guy Waits 13 nautical miles. So kind of interesting. They're a bit all over the shot. So let's first off, well, just as an overview, still looking as if all the heavy weather, most of the heavy weather is down here. Below where everyone is, there's a bit of stuff going on here, which we'll talk about. That's quite interesting. And we'll start off way at the back because Nord's getting close to St. Helena, but he's now saying he wonders whether he should stop there or not, or just keep going. Which is an interesting scenario as well. It's not much of an anchorage there, and he's got everything settled, and he's not in a hurry, and it's not as if it's unsafe. He's going with these trade winds, back into the southeast trades sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if he stops or not. But anyway, he's having a pleasant sail, a lot more pleasant than poor old Guy down here. If we come up to this, you've obviously been following his track. Southeasterlies here is a predominant wind. It's what we're sort of saying you usually need to be approaching, so you get this on the beam coming into Cape Town. It was a little bit high and got pushed way up north. In fact, I'll increase the snail trail here so you can see what's going on. Yeah, you can see his track in there. He got pushed way north. Cape Town's down here. So now he's out of the main wind zone, but it's gone quiet. And there's this pressure cell here. There's a high pressure just formed up here, which is going around in a clockwise direction. So that's now giving him sort of some confusing breezes. He's got light headwinds, but you can see he's a bit all over. He hasn't been going fast. Now it's gone light. So he's, I'll come up one more size here. He's got to get down the bottom here. He'll probably tack across in a minute. You might see him come facing this way because here's Cape Town, and he's still got quite a way to go. So he's about 80 miles, something like that. 77 miles to go. So because it's very light and I don't think he'll motor, we're not likely to see him today. I'd say it's going to be sometime tomorrow. He's on 1 hour tracking, so you can follow it, but it'll be sometime tomorrow, and we'll update his ETA again late this afternoon, see how that's going. In terms of what's happening with his future weather, just to see later this afternoon, still light, but at least it's coming behind him. And then during the night there's a light northerly again, but at least he'll be sailing on that. So I'm just, without even doing the numbers, and then it fills in the day sometime tomorrow, maybe around midday or something like that. Depends on a few factors. So he'll be happy to get in. So come back to normal weather, go boom, one down, and we'll come across here, go down one more, and we'll look at what Elliot and Ian are up to. One more. Get rid of the big snail trails. Okay, so here we've got, we reach Jeremy? Yes, we do, but I'm going to treat him in the other bunch. So we've got the high pressure system here, and as we said yesterday, Elliot's in the middle of it, not going anywhere fast, 2.8 knots. This is the current position. The positions have rolled over a few minutes ago. Ian's still doing 6 knots. He's got a nice breeze there, heading down towards the zone, so he's got to start taking care. That's a nice position there. In fact, I was speaking with, let's just see where he is, speaking with Jean-Luc last night, and even he's surprised at how close everyone's sitting on the line. That's 110 miles from the zone, and that's, 2 degrees from the zone is 120 miles, and 2 degrees gives you quite a bit of latitude if it goes north. So he's actually in a pretty nice spot there at the moment. And we'll roll this weather forward and see what happens in a day. That's early hours of the morning. There's some weather coming up underneath him, but it's moving away. So that's tomorrow. Elliot's got a bit of a breeze coming in then. He'll be happy with that. The next day, that's the morning of the 14th. Plenty of breeze for both, so that's good. And the 15th, 15th, that's 3 days out, nice breeze. That'll get them all the way through across here, so that's kind of cool. And then I think on the 16th there's a bit of strong stuff coming. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. But for the next 3 days, it's looking pretty cool. All right, so this was the sudden shift this morning here. So we'll talk about Jeremy and Gug. Got up this morning, you can see Gug's track. I was really surprised because he was holding and fighting to hold north. He doesn't want to go down to the zone, so this was quite strong here. When I say quite strong, it looked like it was 30 knots or something, and he was taking it on the beam, but he's now been forced to come off. And Jeremy's got a southwesterly, so he's just moving along nicely. Jeremy's doing 4.4 knots, so he's slowed down, so obviously the sea state's built up a bit. But again, this is forecasting, around 30 knots, which means it'll be gusting 40 knots. And Gug's the same. He reported this morning that he's got 40 knots and 5 metre seas, which is possibly about right. But the main one is, and I think he was surprised we didn't give him a weather alert. But you've got to remember, there's a couple of things, and in fact, we follow the windy forecasting. And this is his position virtually now, and you can see it's 30 knot forecast. We only give weather alerts at 35 knots, so it's way under the forecast wind, and there's nothing else anywhere in there. 25 knots, 30 knots, 31 knots. There's nothing that took it over 35 to 35 knots. But certainly when you've got, that's south of him, 31 knots, 31, 32, that's the max you're getting in here. Okay, so it's not our trigger point. But when you get 30 knots, it's going to be gusting 40 knots. So I mentioned this the other day, and the seas are going to build up. But anywhere in here, that's his position, 31 knots. If we go onto waves, okay, 3 meters. So if it's 3 meters forecast, 3 and a bit meters, it's going to be 4 meters. So he's saying he's getting 40 knots and 5 meter seas. So that's Southern Ocean stuff, and he's pushing him south. So he's on the edge here. You can see he's got very close to the line, but fortunately this is moving pretty quick. So that's okay. Jeremy is about the same. He's currently on 75 degrees longitude. So we'll just see what wind he's forecasting for him there. So if we come across to 75, we're over here, and he's about 42, 43, something like that. That's it there, 25 knots. So you can see the forecasting here is 25. It's all under 30 knots, okay? But there's no doubt that he's slowed down because because of the conditions. Maybe it's still early hours of the morning as well. No, he's further along, so it's daylight. And wave heights there, so he's 75. I'll just get it about right again. Okay, so if we go into waves, you're getting 4.5 meters, so that means it could be about 6 meters. And this is Southern Ocean stuff. There's a big chunk of, it's going to get up over here, 6.4. That means about 8 meters. And I think the reason for that, because the wind strength there is still low, but because it's been blowing from the southwest for a while, the sea is building, and this stuff down here is possibly pushing a swell along. That's why the wind strength is down, but the sea state's getting up. The good news is, because it's consistent, there's a bit of a transition here where it's coming from the north and it's going to slowly swing to the northwest, and as per usual in the Southern Ocean, it will then go whoop around to the southwest. But this isn't what I call a big bang thing, where it's super sudden. It just rolls a bit, and then this is to be expected. There'll be 2 swells at that point, and then it'll settle down to this bigger one. So again, for Jeremy, it's not a trigger for us to give a warning. And the other thing is that, just to remember, that the warnings that we give are without obligation, and the reason we do that is we don't want the entrants to expect that they're going to be told every time something gets a little bit funny. There could be communications problems. We might not be able to contact them. They might not be able to contact us. But any time we have a situation where if an entrant feels unsure or a bit confused, they can call us, and we will actually give them a weather forecast. So anyway, as soon as we got the message from Gug, which was basically he's going to be heading southwest and may go into the zone because it's getting up to 40 knots and 5 meter seas, we immediately went back to him with the current forecast, and he would have been disappointed because I said it's 30 knots and 3.5 metre seas. So it's plenty challenging down there, and that's what the zone is all about. Okay, so it's their choices, and it's part of the challenge of the GGR. So then what's happening here? If we just focus on these two for the moment, it's also going to move pretty quick. So I'm going to just toggle this. So the next few hours, you can see within a few hours, I worked out by 1700. This is 1:30, 2:30. It's all backing off for Goog, and then it's going to go in the next by 1700 this afternoon. It's backed right off, and it's swung to the southwest, so it'll blow him away. So he should be okay. I'm hoping he doesn't go into the zone, but it looks okay. Jeremy's going to get a respite, and then so this is the 12th, and then we're moving into the 13th, and then there's more stuff coming, but it's fluffing around, and that's for Jeremy. The wind directions are all good. They'll be able to work that. Hopefully, it's not too strong, but it's looking like, again, it'll be under 35 knot forecast there. So that's for the 13th of December. So that's late tomorrow midday. They're moving very fast. Coming from the southwest, it'll blow them away from the line. So it should be okay. And we'll watch this. I'll have a look at that this afternoon. And if we think Jeremy needs Jeremy or Goog needs a weather alert, we'll base it on the fact that as soon as we see it hit 35 knots, that's where we're going to give it to them. And you can see now this is real roaring 40 stuff, so it's fantastic. It's typical Southern Ocean. Let's have a look at the cloud state here when this is all happening. It's all patchy clouds, so that's pretty cool. That's what you get. Bit of rain south of them and so on. So all kind of interesting stuff, and they're absolutely in the Southern Ocean. Okay, so I'll go back to today's weather. And we'll now look at Abelish, Kirsten and Simon. Abelish reported this morning he's got his engines out, and the way he was talking about it, the tweet was suggesting it might be a problem that he may not be able to fix, so he may be sailing the rest of the way around the world without an engine, and that's kind of interesting because it's challenging to come into Hobart. There's some wind shadows there. Not impossible, Tapio came in last edition of the race without engine, and you could sail all the way. It just takes longer. So without an engine, it could be, he could lose some days. But power-wise, he's got other alternates. He's got the solar panels and bits and pieces there. So it's not a power issue. There's just it's nice, and also in safety situations, sometimes it's good to have an engine. So, but as I say, Tapio sailed basically all the way around the world without an engine. So it's not the end of the world, but disappointing. So he's currently doing 6.2 knots, and Kirsten's doing 5.1 knots, and Simon will be enjoying the ride up there, 6.5. So they're all moving along quite well. I'm going to decrease this so we can see the big picture on the weather. Okay, and then we'll scroll this forward and see what it's looking like as it develops. So it's just all dominated by this high pressure system here moving over the top, but Kirsten will keep sailing on that. Abelish is going to get a real kick from the north, but he can go south now. He's basically about to cross over out of the zone, so anytime he can now optimise his speed to the wind and so on. Nice big system down here, plenty of breeze there, but we're in a good spot there for the fleet, so I'm happy to see that. There's probably 60s and maybe 70s in that lot. Simon's going to keep moving, absolutely. Same with Kirsten, same with Abelish. This is right through until late tomorrow, getting in towards tomorrow midnight. Simon will be, this is where it's starting to get really tricky now, because at that stage he'll probably be here somewhere. He's getting lighter. Kirsten will be coming down, and this could be an interesting break for her. If she can keep the speed up and Simon slows down a bit, that's what they're looking for. But this is 2 days ahead, so I think that'll work in Kirsten's favour there, because the centre of this high is absolutely going to go over Simon. And then this is like another replay of Cape Town. It's going to squash up here, and it's what I'm saying. When these systems come close to the coast, and well, let's just see how it plays out. But absolutely, if Kirsten's down here and Simon's coming up here or in this direction, he's going slow. Simon's sailing. So Kirsten is sailing. So this is going to be very interesting to see what happens. This is right through to the 15th. and I think what you'll find 15th, so it's 12, 13, 14, 15, 3 days, 450 miles, say. Let's see where 450 is. That's 3, 4, yep, 450. She's likely to be in here, so she could be sailing all the way. Now Simon at 450 is Simon's going to be, there's no question he's not going to be down here, he's going to be up here, right? So this could be a very interesting scenario over the next 3 days. We may well see Kirsten starting to close the gap. It's a bit hypothetical, but makes for an interesting gameplay. So just coming back to that, Abelish will be doing okay as well, because Kirsten and Abelish are both going to be in the breeze, okay? Because now Simon's got this blocking, sort of like a blocking effect with the centre of the high. So it'll be interesting to see how he rides that. And let's just take it a little bit further. Oh, I got to. Okay, so we're rolling again now. And that thing's just sitting there, so, and it's starting to follow him up a bit, whereas see, Kirsten down here's got the breeze. Simon's going to be, he'll be on the edge of it for sure. That's it's not moving. You see it's stationary, it's twisting across. So this is now the 17th. This is all telling now. If this forecast is correct, and it may not be, right, because the centres of a system are the most unstable bit. You know, the edges tend to be, you can say there's a higher average that the wind's going to be doing this out here compared to the little bit in the middle. But I get the impression that there's going to be some fun in the next few days. Okay, so let's just look at another situation of how far Simon got to go. I think he's about 1,000 miles. Okay, yep, okay, so he's 1,000, so that's going to be, usually we'd say a week, and it's going to be no less than a week. Sorry, Claire, yeah, it's one of these things where where a week from now, 7, 8, 9, that's the 19th, but there's going to be slow bits there, so I don't know whether he'll make the 1,000 miles this week. I'm still thinking it'll be around about the 20th, and maybe a little bit more on that, but we'll have to wait and see. In terms of the current distance behind, Kirsten's still holding 7:20.25, so hasn't really gained much at all. And Abelish, if we go distance to the east from Kirsten, 300 miles, so he's possibly, Abelish has lost a little bit of ground as well. And then if we go from Gug to Abelish for 470, he's still holding his own against Abelish, which is really cool. And we kick back here to Jeremy, 600 miles behind. So yeah, there's a few things going on there. Anyway, that's about it. This was a long one. Sorry about that. So